Here was fought a hypothetical Cold War engagement, where a Soviet supply convoy, guarded by an infantry screen, runs into a British ambush. Major Bagarov was tasked with escorting a vital supply of convoy, carrying spare parts, lubricants and vodka to the leading armoured regiments to maintain the momentum of the breakthrough against NATO lines. Lieutenant Colonel Hangham Flogham, though forced to retire by enemy armour earlier, aimed to disrupt or destroy the supply column after receiving intelligence from his recce units. (0800) Lieutenant Colonel Hangham Flogham's Queensmen took up silent positions within the damp shadows of the northern woods. Having been forced to retreat earlier that morning, the men were exhausted but determined. With only 4 Milan missiles left, the British commander knew this had to be a one-shot opportunity. To the east, the low rumble of Soviet engines signalled the arrival of the convoy. 0815. Soviet BRDM reconnaissance vehicles clattered past the British positions, their crews oblivious to the eyes watching from the tree line. Hangham Flogham held his fire, waiting for the meat of the column. As the first platoon of BTR-60s entered the kill zone, he gave the order. The Milan missile streaked from the woods, slamming into a BTR and turning it into a funeral pyre of oily smoke. Seconds later, a second BTR was struck, lurching to a halt as Soviet infantry scrambled from the hatches. 0830. Major Bagarov, situated further back in the column, reacted with the practiced aggression of a Soviet officer. He ordered his infantry to debus immediately, while the BRDMs looped back to suppress the woods with their heavy machine guns. The Russian infantry reached a nearby hedgerow, returning fire to cover the deployment of their heavier assets. 0845. The Shika anti-aircraft vehicle loaded its 4 23mm barrels, not at a plane, but at a tree line, shredding bark and branches in a terrifying display of firepower. Meanwhile, a fresh platoon of BMP-1s appeared, veering off the road and into the fields to outflank the British position. The British mortar section began to find the range, but the shells fell harmlessly among the armoured MTLBs. 0900 hours. The British situation turned critical. The last of the 4 Milan missiles had been fired, and the teams scrambled back to their Spartan APCs, with the BMPs closing in and Soviet infantry advancing through the fields. The British were outgunned. Hangham Flogham realised that his remaining handheld Laws and GPMGs would be useless against Soviet armour before his men were shot to bits. 0915. The order to withdraw was given. The Queensmen vanished back into the depths of the forest, using the dense foliage to mask their retreat. Major Bagarov watched the woods warily. He had lost 2 BTRs and a section of men, but the precious cargo, that is, spare parts, lubricants, and the vital crates of vodka, were untouched. He signalled the column to move out. The breakthrough had been maintained.